reimagining wellness retreat is not only about the dimensions of health, wellness, well-being, and wholeness, but the process that we go through in life and understanding the dimensions of wellness through the cycle of birth, growth, maturation, decline, and death. And as we talked about, the grief and loss is a part of life. And with COVID-19 and many of the struggles that we're facing, our culture focuses so much on growth that we sort of neglect these other aspects of our being. So I'm going to show you in a moment how these things work together. But Michelle, do you want to make a comment here?
Yes, I have to say, as a grief recovery specialist, one of the things that I have seen as an encouraging sign during COVID is that for the first time, we are actually talking about grief, which is kind of like a four-letter word that people, knew they shouldn't say in certain company, but it has now come forward as part of our cultural conversation, which is important because it is a part of this dynamic of life, death, and rebirth.
And it's happening all the time in our human bodies are constantly going through this cycle. It's not just the aging process that we're talking about, it's just life. Life is this cycle of generation, regeneration, generation, regeneration. And so the human body, which we always talk about in our retreat setting, that the body is the temple. And so getting insight into where you are in your life. Are you going through a growth period? Are you going through a maturation period? Are there things that you need to let go of? What transitions are going on in your life? That's what the retreat is designed to help you embrace and accept and grow from and learn from together in a safe space. So what we're going to talk about here is we talk about the dimensions of wellness: physical well-being, emotional well-being, intellectual well-being, social well-being, occupational, and spiritual. We have 6 individual retreat facilitators. Each one is going to address one of these areas. And we look at these areas across the whole spectrum of the body and how the body and the mind work together. Michelle, do you want to say anything about the 6 dimensions here?
Sure. One of the things, too, that we are always clear about is the interweaving. So we have an opportunity to look at each one in its particular dimensional aspects, but then we are always thinking about whole person wellness. So through the retreat, we will be talking about and helping you recognize how these all weave together.
And so the way that happens is through the functions of the human mind, body, spirit complex. So before we talk about that, just notice we're talking about the cycle here, right? From birth to death and regeneration. So that's the cycle part. We're talking about the dimensions, but we also have functions, things that allow us to live, that help us to maximize the experience of having a successful life. And we call these functions special. And there's special from bottom to top: support, which we'll talk about, protect, eliminate, circulate, integrate, align, and learn. Now, the retreat will not necessarily explicitly talk about these, but we will be referring to this over and over again in terms of you being a whole person made up of the cycle, the dimensions, and the functions. So this is this continuous continuity weaving that Michelle just talked about. They all work together. They all come together through the body. So I'll mention each one and I'll let Michelle comment. So you can see at the bottom, you have support. So musculoskeletal, the sacrum, our lower back, the cellular apparatus, nutritional support, social emotional support, and access to resources and spiritual support. So Michelle, do you want to share your own experience in the work that you do and what we'll be doing in the retreat around how important support is?
Sure, yes. So we know that we live in a physical body. And I think this, so looking at this level and remembering that and encouraging us to understand that, yes, while we are, our base of support is through that physical body, there are many dimensions to us. And sometimes we want to flee and just kind of live. People talk about it like, I feel like I'm living outside of my body because everything in the world is so chaotic right now. So this is a really important one to recognize. First, we want to be in our bodies having these experiences.
And the retreat is set up to provide support, right? Social support especially, that you'll be working with other people, you'll have buddies, you'll have the experts to help you out. So the retreat is designed by the virtue of it's how it's designed to support you. Now, we're not going to go through all of these. Michelle, do you want to pick another one and we'll just have fun with maybe one or two more, another one of the special?
Sure. I always love the integrate. Integrate is one that I oftentimes experience as perhaps my body, my emotions, my mind getting to a place where I'm feeling like I need to let things percolate. And it's a really important stage that a lot of people want to skip past and just keep busy, just keep going, keep going. But as you see in there, that sense of coherence, if we want to have a sense of coherence, we need to allow our tools for resilience to inform us that maybe it's a good idea to just check out from technology for whatever it is, the afternoon or the day, and integrate what some of the experiences are and let things circulate. So I begin to see how all of these work together. It's hard to talk about one without the others coming into play.
And you've done a lot of work with coherence through your work as a heart map facilitator and the role of mind, body, and heart weighing coherence. Do you want to share anything about that?
Right. And one thing I'm really working with people, my own clients, and when I'm speaking, is to really encourage people to begin more to trust their heart. And we do that by way of structured techniques where you get used to paying attention and being in the awareness of your heart, and then drawing in certain aspects that are very coherent emotions like self-compassion and compassion. And what that allows for is there's that word again, integration of the head and the heart, so that if you're trying to make a decision, if you're trying to calm yourself, you now have a much stronger place to ask from when you've integrated the head and the heart. And it's a way that it's ingrained in us. All of us have an ability to tap into our intuitive senses much more strongly when we continue to practice this way of connecting head and heart.
Wonderful. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned intuition because that sort of is what the integration does, right? We become more intuitive.
Yeah.
So the other ideas here with regard to integrate is the whole idea that, as we know from advanced medicine, integral medicine, nutritional advances that are happening, that you can't separate these different aspects of the human mind-body complex, right? Psycho, neuro, immune, endocrine, biome, right? What we eat affects our immune system. It affects our endocrine system. Our endocrine system and our cycles, our endocrinology affects our psychological sense. So what we're doing is kind of introducing these ideas, but not conceptually, but through tools. The AQAL, you'll notice there's a note there, that's from Ken Wilber's work. the philosopher Ken Wilber, who's an integral philosopher. And that's all quadrants, all levels, which means you're not going to only experience the retreat as an I, but also as a we, right? And you're also going to experience it through your behavior. What is the it you're going to be changing or thinking about changing in your life because of your actions that you'll be taking, but also the it's. You'll be getting lots of things, tools, diagrams, opportunity to work with other people using worksheets that will allow you to do all this integration. And finally, at the spiritual level, you know, maybe there's something going on in your life where you need some reconciliation with somebody or something in your past. Maybe it's time for maturation, maybe resilience, or maybe peace. So all of these are a function of integration. They're a function of integrating and becoming more whole. So I think to sum up this particular image, you may be in your life where you just need support, okay? All that other stuff, it's like, you had me at support, okay? Well, great, right? And that's what we mean by being inclusive. It doesn't matter what you're working on. What we're trying to do is provide a map and a space, a holding space to help you center yourself. And as I like to say, get away from far from the maddening crowd and take some time out. And that's what we're here for. Any final words, Michelle?
I was just laughing because sometimes the maddening crowd is the committee in our head that won't be quiet. Yeah.
Take care, everybody. We hope to see you at the retreat. You'll see a link to it, and it'll be a lot of fun. Take care.
Yeah, we hope to see you there. Thank you.